Chapter 1. Awakening the Beast. Your first day as a berserker. Imagine a world where your morning routine doesn't start with coffee, but with a blood-curdling scream of war. No emails, no meetings. Just you, a massive axe, and a crowd of terrified enemies wondering how you got so unreasonably angry before breakfast. Welcome to your life as a Viking Berserker. In this video we'll rampage, through your daily life as one of the most feared warriors in history. From mushroom-fueled rage to why you probably didn't own pants. This isn't just a history lesson. It's your new lifestyle. So, grab your metaphorical shield, maybe light a candle if you're watching in bed, and drift into a different kind of warrior's tale. Like this video if you've ever woken up feeling like a berserker before coffee, and comment below. Would you survive one day as a Viking? The sky over the fjord is still asleep, cloaked in that deep indigo hush before dawn. A cold mist clings to the earth like it's reluctant to rise. Somewhere in the far woods, a raven calls, sharp and prophetic, as if it knows something you don't yet. And you are about to become a Viking berserker. Not a farmer, not a fisherman, not one of those longhouse boys who sip mead and avoid eye contact during raids. No, today you awaken into something ancient, something brutal, something sacred. Today you are the fury of the North. You're 19 winters old, strong, but not yet carved by time. You still bear that boyish glint in your eyes, the one the elders said would either get you killed or make you feared. Maybe both. You lie on your straw mat in the corner of the longhouse, listening to the quiet creak of timber and the soft snoring of men too tired or too drunk to notice the moment is shifting. The smell is familiar. Sweat, smoke, damp fur. Home in all its unwashed glory. But this morning, your heart beats different. It doesn't thump like it does when you see a pretty girl in the market. It pounds, like a war drum echoing from somewhere inside your bones. Each beat pulling you toward the edge of something. You don't know what it is yet, but you feel it, like a current beneath the ice. You sit up slowly. Your breath forms a small ghost in the cold air. It hovers a moment, then disappears. Today, you begin the ritual. A quiet madness. You aren't alone. There are others. 3 of you were chosen this season. You don't know why. Maybe because you snapped the neck of that wild dog that tried to kill your cousin. Maybe because the seer had a dream where your name was whispered in Old Norse. Maybe because your father was one too, and blood remembers. You step outside, bare feet in frost, and the world greets you like it forgot your name. The trees don't rustle. The birds don't sing. Even the sea seems to hold its breath. A group of elder berserkers waits near the shore. They wear cloaks of bare fur, faces painted with ash and blood. You've heard stories about them, how they feel no pain, how they tear through enemy lines like wolves through sheep, how they scream so loud the ground shivers. And now, you're supposed to become one of them. One of the elders nods toward a bowl on a stone altar. You know what's inside. It smells like something that should never be chewed. Amanita muscaria, the fly agaric mushroom, red with white specks. The kind that makes other people vomit and hallucinate. The kind berserkers chew before they go into battle to open the gates. Your fingers tremble as you lift the piece to your mouth. It tastes like dirt, copper, and bad decisions. Then, you wait. The unraveling. At first, nothing happens. You sit by the fire. The sky brightens into a soft purple, and somewhere a goat screams like it's being mugged. A normal morning. But then your fingertips start to tingle. The sounds get sharper. You hear the river gurgling like it's trying to speak. You feel heat rising under your skin, crawling like ants made of sunlight. And then your heart. Oh, your heart. It races like it's trying to outrun something. Your vision blurs, but you see everything. The ash in the fire looks like it's dancing. The trees lean toward you, as if listening. The breath in your chest is no longer yours. It belongs to something deeper, something older. The elders watch in silence. No one helps. No one holds your hand. Becoming a berserker is not a gentle thing. You stand, but your legs don't belong to you. They're tree trunks moving on instinct. You feel hot, then cold, then both. You scream, not out of fear, but because your body has no other language for what's happening. And somewhere in that chaos, you feel a presence. Not human, not beast, something else. Call it a spirit. Call it madness. Call it Odin himself pressing a cold finger to your spine. You fall to your knees and laugh. Then you cry. Then you growl. The other two initiates are silent now. One has fainted. The other is clawing at his own arms. And you stand. Not because you feel strong, but because something inside you refuses to kneel. The elders nod again, naming the rage. They take you to the woods. The trees seem taller now, more judgmental. There's a clearing where the grass is red-stained from years of ritual. There, they give you your first task. Not a duel, not a fight. They point to a massive log, oak, thick as a man's waist. Your job. Split it. With your bare hands. You laugh, until you realize they're serious. The mushroom still pulses in your blood. You grab the log. You roar. You beat it with your fists, your forehead, your fury. And when your hands are bloody and the wood cracks, the elders shout a single word. Enough. They give you a new name now. Not your birth name. That one is gone. You are called Ulfafreni, the wolf frenzy. They say you fought like a starving wolf at the edge of death. They say your scream made the crows flee. You don't remember any of it. The return to the village. When you return to the longhouse, the villagers don't cheer. They step aside. Mothers clutch their children. Elders avoid your eyes. Even your brothers look uneasy, because now you are no longer one of them. You are other, sacred, feared, a weapon in human skin. You bathe in the cold stream, the water turning pink as blood flows from your raw knuckles. You eat slowly, but you don't taste the food. That night, as you lie on your straw mat again, you feel empty. Not sad, not happy, just hollow, like something was scooped out of you and replaced with noise. You try to sleep, but your dreams are loud. Wolves chasing the moon. Fire without flame. A spear made of bone. You wake up sweating, heart pounding, and you realize this is your life now. The new morning. The sun rises again. A softer light this time. The mist begins to lift. But inside, the storm hasn't settled. You're not just strong now. You're unstoppable. You're unpredictable. You're necessary. Because the world is not kind. The world is full of enemies who won't wait for your shield to be ready. The world rewards fury more than it rewards fairness. And you were born for fury. You stand at the edge of the fjord, watching the sea glitter. Your axe waits nearby. It feels like a part of you now. Somewhere, a ship will sail soon. A raid will be called. The drums will beat. And when they do, you will answer. Chapter 6. Feasting and Frenzy. What a post-raid party feels like. Imagine this. You've just returned from your first raid. Your muscles ache in ways that make you question if they've rearranged themselves. Blood is crusted under your nails, and smoke still clings to your hair like a souvenir from the burning village you left behind. The longship slides into the harbour under the low northern sun, your stomach rumbling louder than your war cry. You're filthy. You're exhausted. You're proud. And you are absolutely starving. Welcome to the post-raid feast. The homecoming. When a group of berserkers returns from a raid, it's not exactly a silent entrance. You're not slipping home like teenagers after sneaking out. No, this is a parade. The kind that smells like sweat, seawater, and victory. Horns are blown. Children run along the shoreline shouting your name. Dogs bark wildly. And the villagers? They come pouring out of longhouses with eyes full of awe. Some of them are your lovers. Others are just glad you're not dead. But mostly, they're here for the stories. And the loot. The longhouse doors swing open, and the entire structure practically trembles with anticipation. Meat is already roasting, mead is being poured, and someone's yelling about needing more firewood. The energy in the air crackles like a dry pine log catching flame. Before you can sit, you're surrounded. Old warriors want to know how it went. Young boys want to touch your axe. And the skald? Oh, that poetic little rascal is already taking notes for a saga. He asks you what kind of scream your enemies made. You tell him it sounded like victory, loot, bragging, and the I killed more than you game. Now here's where things get spicy. The feast isn't just about meat and mead. It's a scoreboard. Every berserker is trying to outdo the others. You all sit around the fire, growling half-truths about the day's carnage like it's Viking karaoke night. I split a man from his collarbone to his toe with one swing. Oh yeah, I bit a man's ear off. Children, children, says the Jarl. I threw a burning log at a priest. He squealed. Laughter erupts, tankards are slammed on tables, and someone throws a bone at someone else's head. It's all in good fun. Mostly. And then comes the loot pile, gleaming with silver armbands, goblets, strange foreign trinkets, and yes, a bell. Why did someone bring back a bell? No one knows. It's loud, it's annoying, and it somehow ends up on your belt. This is the part of the night where alliances are tested. Who gets what? How much does the skald get? Spoiler. Less than he wants, more than he deserves. The Jarl gets the largest share, But even he knows not to mess with berserkers after mead number 4. The feast table, where manners go to die. Imagine a table so long it disappears into shadow, lit only by firelight and greasy torch sputters. Boar, goat, fish, and thick stews are heaped in bowls. Everything smells divine, like heaven, if heaven were located inside a smokehouse. No forks, just knives, fingers, and the occasional slurp loud enough to startle the livestock. You sit next to a fellow berserker who still has blood in his beard. You don't mention it. You both just keep eating like the meal's trying to escape. Here's what might appear on your plate during a post-raid Viking feast. Roast lamb seasoned with wild garlic and sea salt. Barley cakes so dense they could be used as backup shields. Honeyed apples, soft from the fire. Pickled herring, because your people love a good tongue twister of a flavor. Ale and mead, poured so generously that by the third refill you're not sure if your name is still your name. And of course, someone breaks out the mushroom stew. Yes, those mushrooms. The ones that make the walls hum and the torches sway when you're sitting still. But only the bravest, or most foolhardy, go in for seconds. Dancing, daring, and other dumb decisions. Feasting isn't just about food. It's about release. After the storm of war comes the storm of joy. Loud, messy, and a bit unhinged. A drum begins. Then another. Feet stamp. Someone picks up a lyre and plays a song so badly it sounds like two cats trying to wrestle a goose. Nobody cares. You're hauled to your feet. Someone throws a wolf pelt over your shoulders. Another pours mead down your throat like you're a dying campfire. The dancing begins. Not gentle waltzes. No. Viking dancing is part fight, part flirting, part performance art. You swing your arms, clash shoulders, howl into the smoke. Someone does a somersault off a bench. Someone else challenges a goat to a staring contest. No one is sober anymore, and that's kind of the point. You may wake up tomorrow with bruises in places you didn't know had names. But for now, you're weightless. Berserker love language. Flirting like a Viking. Let's say, amid the chaos, you lock eyes with someone. Maybe it's a shield maiden who fought beside you. Maybe it's the Jarl's cousin. Maybe it's just someone who likes the way your hair looks all matted and blood-crusted. Who can say? Courtship at a feast is simple. Make a joke, boast about your kill count, offer them a piece of roast boar, and, if that all fails, beat someone up in their honor. You say, "I burned down a monastery." They say, "Hot." You say, "Wanna see my loot?" They say, "Depends. Does it bite?" You say, "Only if you do first." The night deepens. The bonfire and the song. Eventually, the dancing slows. The food is gone, the Jarl is snoring, and someone's passed out in the mead barrel again. But the fire still burns, crackling like it's telling its own stories. This is when the skald rises. Cloaked in furs, illuminated by flame, he raises a hand. The room hushes. Even the goats stop chewing. And then he begins. He sings about you. Not by name. Not yet. But he describes a warrior who charged through fire, roared at death, and brought glory to the village. People nudge each other and whisper, "That's you, right?" You pretend to shrug. But inside, you're on fire again. The skald's voice wraps around the room like mist, ancient, deep, and comforting. You lean back against a post. The world spins a little, not with sickness, but with satisfaction. This is the reward. This moment. This song. This peace. Now, as the embers die and the night winds curl around the longhouse, you begin to think. All that rage, all that chaos, the screaming, the blood, the mushrooms, and now, calm. This is why the village tolerates the madness. This is why your people follow the rage. Not for the violence, but for what it protects. Food, fire, fellowship. You fought not because you love war, though let's be honest, you kind of do, but because it keeps this alive. The songs, the dancing, the roaring laughter, the warm bread and shared blankets. Call to action, because even berserkers need likes. Hey, still with us? If you've been enjoying this berserker's journey, the blood, the breakfast, the boar, then smash that like button like it just insulted your ancestors. It helps us reach more brave souls like yourself. And here's a question to stir the embers in your mind. What would you bring back from your first raid? Gold, glory, or the weird bell no one asked for? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because next up, we're diving into what it means to truly belong to a berserker brotherhood. Ready for Chapter 7. The Brotherhood, bonds forged in blood and mead. Chapter 2. Mushrooms, guards, and battle trances. The wind is soft this morning, not sharp like an axe, but cool and sly, slipping through Skjoldvik's pines like it's hunting secrets. The air smells of salt, damp earth, and the faint iron tang of blood, maybe from a blade left unwashed, maybe from the hunger in your bones. You're 16, Bjorn Storm Cub, your wolfskin cloak still stiff from the blood oath, your axe, Bonebiter, hanging heavy at your belt. The sea-wolf waits in the fjord, her dragon prow snarling at the sky, her oak hull gleaming like a predator's hide. Ulfric one hand stands on the shore, his good hand gripping a rope, his one eye glinting like a storm's edge. "Move, Storm Cub," he growls. "The sea doesn't wait for pups." You leap aboard, nearly tumbling into the icy fjord when your boot slips on a slick plank. The crew, 20 warriors, all scarred and reeking of mead, laughs as you grab an oar to steady yourself. Odin's grace, he's graceful as a drunk boar, Sigrid Stareye mutters, her frost-white hair braided tight, her dagger sharper than her tongue. You grin, because grinning hides the heat in your cheeks. The sea-wolf groans as you take your oar, the wood rough against your calluses. The sail snaps open, red and black like a wound, and you're off, Skjoldvik fading into mist. Rowing is pain. Your shoulders burn, your hands blister, and the sea sprays salt that stings like a whip. The crew chants, their voices a low drumbeat, but you're off rhythm, splashing uselessly until Sigrid snaps. Row with your arms, not your skull. You grit your teeth, find the beat, and the sea-wolf surges, cutting waves like a blade through flesh. She's alive, her timbers creaking like a heartbeat, and you're part of her, a single muscle in a beast that devours the sea. Days melt into nights, the horizon endless, the sky a bruise of grey and fire. Sigrid teaches you to read the stars, pointing to a bright speck. Odin's eye, she calls it. Follow it when the waves lie. You squint, half expecting it to wink. She shows you how gulls signal land, how clouds betray storms. One night, a squall hits, waves crashing over the deck, and you tie yourself to the mast, laughing as the crew curses. Mad as a troll. Ulfric shouts, his beard dripping. The storm feels like home, wild and unyielding, like the hunger in your chest. On the 10th day, you spot land, a green Saxon coast, its village ripe for raiding. Ulfric gathers the crew, voice low. Silver, not slaughter. We're warriors, not wolves. Your blood sings for chaos, bonebiter humming in your hand. You leap ashore, sand soft under your boots, the village asleep except for a dog that flees at your glare. The crew splits. Sigurd's group heads for the church's silver, while you follow Ulfric to secure the square. You spot a barn, its door ajar, a cow mooing inside. It feels like a challenge. You charge in, axe raised, only to trip over a rake and crash into hay. The cow bolts, knocking over a lantern, and flames lick the walls. Odin's teeth! You curse, scrambling out as the barn blazes. The crew stares, half horrified, half amused. Ulfric sighs. Storm cub, you're a walking curse. Villagers wake, shouting, and you sprint to the church, where Sigurd's prying open a chest. A monk, bald and furious, swings a candlestick. You dodge, grinning, and roar. Face me, holy man! He hurls a prayer book, screaming about demons. You catch it, tucking it into your belt as a trophy. The crew grabs silver, chalices, crosses, and you're back on the Sea-Wolf as the barn's flames light the sky. At sea, the hunger comes. Sigrid hands you a red mushroom, its white spots gleaming like eyes. Chew fast, she says. It tastes of earth and rust, sour as betrayal. The world stretches, waves pulse, stars whisper. Your breath echoes like a war horn. You're not on the Sea-Wolf anymore. You're in a vast plain, silver grass under a crackling sky, Yggdrasil looming, its leaves glowing blue. A figure sits on a throne of bones, one eye, spear in hand, ravens on his shoulders. Odin. He stares through you, and pain blooms behind your eyes, sharp as a blade. Visions flood, ships burning, men screaming your name, your axe tearing flesh. A whisper. You are mine. You fall, gasping, back to the Sea-Wolf, the crew watching, reverent. Sigrid marks your forehead with ash. You've seen him, she says. Now carry his hunger. The next raid tests you. A fortified village, guarded by Saxon spears. You chew the mushroom, and the trance hits. Muscles tight, vision red, pain gone. You charge, screaming, axe-splitting shields, blood spraying like rain. You're not human. You're a storm, unstoppable, hungry. A spear grazes your arm. It feels like a kiss. You tackle a warrior, bonebiter biting deep, and the village falls. Silver piles high, but you're hollow, shaking as the trance fades. Back on the Sea-Wolf, Ulfric claps your shoulder. You're a disaster, but a lucky one. You grin, salt crusting your lips, the prayer book heavy in your belt. The sea calls, promising more raids, more glory, more chances to scream at the sky. So, you've survived your first raids. You've felt the blood on your hands, the dirt in your teeth, and the roar in your lungs. You've tasted fire. And now comes something that might matter even more than all that rage-fueled chaos. The brotherhood. This isn't the kind of brotherhood where people send Christmas cards. This is the kind where your axe hand is scarred from dragging your blood-soaked friend out of a collapsing longhouse, where you've seen another man's intestines and still choose to stand shoulder to shoulder with him the next day. Viking berserkers didn't just fight alone. They didn't exist alone. They belonged to something fierce, sacred, and often unspoken. Let's step inside that unbreakable bond. It's not just history, it's human, forged in fire and maybe mead. You don't join the brotherhood. You survive your way into it. After every raid, after the looting and burning and half-ash bodies, there's always a moment when your berserker brothers gather in the fading light. No shouting, no boasting, just a ring of men sitting quietly, the blood drying on their faces, listening to the wind. This silence is sacred, because these are the men who saw you unhinged, who stood with you while you screamed in your trance, who didn't flinch when you bit down on your own shield. They know you, not in the polite sense, really know you. And after that silence comes the sound of flint striking steel, the start of a fire. Then comes mead, laughter, the kind of howling jokes that only come when death is behind you. Mead isn't just a drink here. It's liquid memory. Every cup toasted, every gulp taken. It's a ritual. You toast to those who survived, and to those who didn't. You don't need a priest for that. The fire is your altar, the mead your sacrament. Trust built in battle. Here's the thing. Berserkers didn't wear much armor. That meant they had to trust someone was always watching their back. Not just kind of, but completely. You might be in a trance, eyes rolling back, roaring like a god, but your brother's right there, intercepting the spear you didn't see, dragging you back when you go too deep into enemy lines. And you do the same for him, without question. They know your rage. You know their weakness. One might be slow to start, but unstoppable once roaring. Another might be clever, always finding the weak spot in a wall. Another might fight best barefoot. You accept it. You cover it. That's the bond. Even in training, you spar hard, not to break each other, but to sharpen one another. Bruises, cuts, cracked ribs, those are love letters in berserker language. The nicknames and the scars. In this circle, names don't mean much unless they come with a story. You're not Eric anymore. You're Goat Kicker, because you accidentally kicked a goat through a door during a trance. Your brother isn't Bjorn anymore. He's Black Eye, not from a fight, but from falling face first into a cooking pot while drunk. And the scars? Those are badges. You don't hide them. You pass a mead horn, point at the pink puckered line across your bicep, and say, "That one's from the Irish monk who bit me." Your brother laughs, lifts his tunic, and shows where a Saxon sword went clean through his thigh. "Still hurts when I drink too fast," he says. You both laugh like idiots, because that's what it means to live another day. The circle around the fire. Back at camp, there's a moment in every night when things grow quiet again. Everyone's had their fill of food, and the fire's burned low, spitting occasional sparks. One of the older berserkers tells a story. Maybe it's of a raid long ago. Maybe it's of a friend who never came back. Maybe it's about the gods. Everyone listens. There's no order to who speaks. No speeches. Just the voice of a man who lived something and needs to say it. Sometimes it ends in laughter. Sometimes in silence. You, sitting cross-legged by the flames, look around at the faces. All are different, yet all feel the same. Dirt-smeared, scarred, tired, but somehow shining. This is your family now. No bloodline required. Just blood. Just fire. Just survival. When one falls. And yes, sometimes a brother doesn't make it. When that happens, it's not just a loss. It's a crater in your soul. You don't cry loudly, but you carry his axe on the next raid. You carve his name into your shield. You tell his stories louder than your own. And when you return from the next fight, if you return, you drink twice as much mead. For him and for you. Because if you were the one who fell, you'd want them to do the same. Bonds like iron. Let's be clear. These weren't perfect men. They argued. They wrestled. They threw punches over who got the last smoked fish. But when the time came to board a ship and head into the unknown, there was never hesitation. Because you weren't going alone. In the end, being a berserker wasn't just about rage or glory. It was about being seen, completely, terrifyingly, and without shame, and knowing that the men around you, those blood-drunk, half-mad, wild-eyed warriors, had seen you too, and stayed. You never forget that. So next time someone asks what made Viking Berserker so fearsome, don't just say, the mushrooms, or the screaming. Say this. It was the brotherhood. The bonds forged not in peace, but in chaos. Not in temples, but in fire and frost and the muddy earth of the north. And mead. Don't forget the mead. Chapter 3. The armor you didn't wear, and why that's terrifying. The morning fog is thick today, clinging to the earth like it doesn't want to let go. It curls around stones, creeps between trees, softens the sharp edges of the world. You rise early again, not from sound or duty, but because your body remembers now. It remembers battle. It remembers blood. It remembers that it belongs to something that cannot rest long. You step outside the longhouse barefoot. The ground is cold, but it feels honest beneath your skin. The dew seeps between your toes. In the distance, you hear the sea humming her old lullaby, steady, endless, ancient. And on the wooden rack beside you, there it sits, your axe, polished, heavy, familiar, and beside it, nothing, no armor, no chainmail, no helmet, because today you prepare not to wear what most warriors would never leave without. You are a berserker, and armor is not for you. Why go naked into war? It's not that you don't have access to armor. There are suits of mail in the armory, helms taken from raids, even beautiful foreign pieces looted from wealthy Saxons or Franks. You've tried them on once, early in training. The moment the chain touched your skin, something in you recoiled. It wasn't fear. It was rejection. Like your body remembered a time before iron, before protection, when men fought like beasts and beasts didn't wear helmets. Armor slows you down. It cages the rage. And you are not here to be safe. You are here to terrify. The uniform of fear. Instead of a shield, you wear fur. Thick, coarse bear fur draped across your back, tied at the throat. It smells of smoke and damp earth. It still carries the weight of the animal it once belonged to. It's not armor. It's a warning. A message to every enemy who sees you coming. This man does not fear death. This man hunts fear. Sometimes you go into battle shirtless, skin painted with ash and blood, hair tangled, eyes wild. You've even heard tales of berserkers fighting fully naked, stripped not just of armor but of everything human. Not for shame, for power. Because there's something deeply unsettling about a man who charges at you with nothing but a roar. A man who clearly has nothing left to lose. The sounds of preparation. As your comrades strap on mail and adjust helms, you sit by the fire and prepare differently. You grind pine resin between your fingers and smear it across your chest in shapes only you understand. You take charcoal from the hearth and draw dark lines under your eyes. You run your hand over your scars, small reminders that you are not untouched, only unbroken. Around you, others move quietly. They've learned not to speak too much to berserkers before battle. You're in a different place now, somewhere deep, where words have no meaning. One man, a young shield brother, dares to ask, "Aren't you cold?" You look at him and smile, not unkindly, just knowingly, because when the trance comes, you won't feel cold. You won't feel anything, not until it's over. The function of fearlessness. You understand the logic behind armor. You do. It protects. It deflects blades. It buys you time. It keeps you standing when others fall. But fearlessness isn't something you wear. It's something you become. Armor says, "I want to live." Your bare chest says, "I'm ready to die." And that difference, it matters. On the battlefield, it unravels men. The enemy sees you, unchained, unguarded, unhinged, and something ancient wakes in them. A whisper. This is not a man. This is death wearing a face. You watch it happen. Eyes widen. Feet falter. Spears shake. Because you remind them of something their minds forgot, but their bodies remember. The world is still wild. The ritual of the roar. Before the raid, the circle forms. You and the other berserkers, 3 of you this time, stand shoulder to shoulder. You begin to breathe. Fast. Shallow. Deliberate. The chant starts. A low hum, barely more than a vibration. It builds. You slam your fists against your chest, your thighs, the earth. Your heart starts to throb with the rhythm. The others join in. The trance stirs. Your vision narrows. Red creeps into the corners. You feel heat in your skull. The fur on your back grows heavier. You snarl, and the line between human and beast begins to blur. The men around you, farmers turned fighters, look on with awe and fear. They've seen this before. They've seen you return from the edge, bloodied, laughing, alive, into the fray. The longship hits the shore hard. Wet sand sprays into the air. Shields are raised. Arrows whistle. You don't wait. You leap into the surf before anyone else. Water freezing around your knees. The weight of the bear fur pulls at you. You throw it off. You don't need it now. Your skin is bare. Your axe is ready. And your voice, your roar, splits the air. It's not a battle cry. It's a warning, a promise. A prophecy. The enemy hears it before they see you. Some hold their line. Most don't. You swing, and you do not miss. Blades strike your side, but you don't feel them. A spear grazes your arm, but your blood keeps flowing. Your axe lands again and again and again. You are not protected. You are not safe. But you are moving, and motion is life. The silence after the battle, you sit on the cliff's edge. The wind dries the blood on your chest. Some of it yours, most of it not. You ache. Now the pain arrives. The bruises bloom. The cuts throb. The cold creeps in. But it's okay, because you're here. You did not need armor, and you're still breathing. Not invincible, but untouchable. You're not immortal. You know that. You've seen berserkers fall. An arrow to the throat, a blade through the back. It happens. But that's not the point. The point is that while you stand, you are untouchable, not because iron won't pierce you, but because fear won't. Lessons from the skin. The elders used to say the skin is sacred, not because it keeps you alive, but because it tells your story. Yours is covered in lines now, some fresh, some faded, some raised like ridges on old wood. Each one is a chapter, a warning, a memory, and none of them were hidden by mail or leather, because you didn't come here to be protected. You came here to be remembered. One last look. You return to the longhouse at twilight, clothes torn, blood crusted in your hair. No one asks why you don't wear armor anymore. They know. They've seen the way enemies drop their weapons at the sight of you. They've seen how death doesn't seem to recognize your name. They've heard the chants. They've felt the fear. And tonight, when the fire crackles low, and someone passes you a bowl of broth, a small child stares at you from the far side of the hearth. He doesn't blink. You smile, and for a brief moment, you wish you had something soft to offer him. But you don't. You only have the truth. And the truth is this. Some warriors wear armor to live longer, but the berserker wears nothing, to make sure the world remembers how it felt to see him coming. Chapter 8. The gods are watching. Religion and rage. Picture this. You stand at the edge of a battlefield, blood on your lips, your chest rising like the swell of a tide. And somewhere, just beyond the clouds churning above, you feel them watching. Not your chieftain, not your fellow warriors, but Odin, Thor, the gods of the old ways. They see everything, your bravery, your rage, your hesitation, and they are keeping score. Welcome to the other side of being a berserker. Not the blood or the fame, but the belief. The part where rage wasn't random. It was ritual, and your every scream might have echoed through the halls of Valhalla. You don't just fight for yourself. Being a berserker wasn't just about swinging axes until your arms went numb. It was about becoming a tool for the divine. Rage, you see, wasn't mindless. It was sacred. Berserkers believed they were touched by the gods, or possessed, or both. That fury wasn't something they built up, but something they opened themselves to, like a lightning rod begging for fire from the sky. You were more than a warrior. You were a vessel. Before every battle, you'd say prayers, sometimes under your breath, sometimes howling to the heavens. To Odin, the one-eyed wanderer, keeper of the runes and chooser of the slain. He was the patron of madmen, seers, and berserkers alike, and if you were lucky, you felt his favor before you rushed forward, fearless and unarmored, into the chaos. Odin's eye and your fate. Let's talk about Odin for a moment. He wasn't your gentle, all-loving deity. He didn't float above the clouds on a harp-shaped cloud pillow. Odin was complicated, wise, yes, but also cunning, a god of war and poetry. He once gave up his own eye for wisdom. Who does that? To a berserker, Odin was the ideal, a thinker and killer, a wanderer and king. And when you screamed your war cry, you were doing it for him. But the belief went even deeper. You didn't just pray to Odin, you gave things up for him. Sacrifices, tokens, blood. In some cases, your sanity. It was believed that the very trance of the berserker, the foggy, unbreakable fury, was a kind of divine madness granted by Odin himself. Not everyone could handle it. Some burned too hot. Some never came back. But if you could ride it, if you could truly let go, you weren't just fighting like a god. You were fighting for one. The rituals before battle. The build-up to battle was sacred. Not all chants and incense, of course. Sometimes it was just a very serious mushroom trip, as we mentioned earlier. But often there were symbolic gestures, runes carved into shields, blood painted on foreheads, the quiet whisper of old words, some Norse, some older than even that, shared around the fire. You'd tighten the straps on your belt and feel the carved bones against your chest. Charms, amulets, bits of ravens' wings, or stones found on riverbeds. All things you believed held power. All things that might make the difference between dying and living, between reaching Valhalla or fading into Helheim's cold embrace. Before charging into the fray, you might have placed both hands on your sword, looked to the sky, and muttered a single word, "See," because the gods always watched, and that belief shaped your every action. Fear was not the enemy. Doubt was. In many warrior cultures, fear was seen as weakness. But not for you. Fear meant you still cared. Fear meant your body wanted to live. And that was useful. What wasn't allowed? Doubt. Doubt that the gods existed. Doubt that they cared. Doubt that you were worthy of their attention. That was poison. Because if you doubted, even for a second, your rage would falter. Your trance would break. Your hand would tremble just enough to let an enemy's spear in. And that would be it. No Valhalla. No gods. Just cold mud and colder regret. So you armored yourself in belief. What about Thor? Yes, Odin got most of your devotion. But Thor? He was the god you wanted in a tavern brawl. Thor was the protector, the hammer-wielding, thunder-summoning juggernaut of Norse myth. When the storm rolled in on the eve of battle, you didn't hide, you grinned, because that meant Thor was near. Some berserkers wore Mjolnir pendants around their necks. Others painted hammers on their chests in ash or blood. It wasn't just decorative. It was protective. Thor was the wall, the punch, The guy who hit first and made sure his people lived to brag about it. You didn't pray to Thor to understand the meaning of life. You prayed to him to keep you in it. The Valkyries were watching too. And then there were the Valkyries. Not angels. Not fairies. These were warrior spirits, handpicked by Odin, who flew over battlefields and chose which warriors were worthy of entering Valhalla. You wanted them to notice you. So when you screamed louder, charged harder, took one more step when your legs begged you to quit, that was for them. That was to catch a Valkyrie's eye. Maybe she'd see the way you didn't flinch when an axe came for your throat. Maybe she'd take your soul herself. You didn't just want to live gloriously. You wanted to die gloriously, if you had to die at all. The aftermath was a sacred space too. After the raid, once the blood cooled and your hands stopped shaking, you didn't just collapse and snore. There was ritual in the aftermath. Offerings, quiet thanks, the placing of items on small shrines, maybe a word to a dead comrade, whispered to their fallen body. The gods saw you. They saw. You'd sit under the stars and carve runes into the hilt of your weapon. Maybe it meant nothing. Maybe it meant everything. But you believed. That's what mattered. Because belief is the bridge between fury and purpose. Not everyone approved. Now here's something surprising. Not everyone thought berserkers were noble or blessed. Some feared you. Not just enemies, but your own people. Because who wants to sit across the fire from someone who might, at any moment, lose himself to a divine rage and start screaming at the sky? There were whispers that you were cursed, that you were more animal than man, that you weren't guided by gods, but haunted by them. And maybe they weren't entirely wrong. But you didn't care, because you knew something they didn't. You knew that when the shield wall breaks and everything turns to screaming, they would be looking to you, and you would be looking to the gods. It wasn't about winning. It was about meaning. In the end, your role as a berserker was less about trophies and more about transformation. When you let go, when you gave yourself fully to the trance, the rage, the god force within, you weren't trying to win a war. You were becoming part of a larger story, one told by ravens, written in fire, sung in the mead halls long after your bones had turned to dust. Your madness had meaning. Your battle was a prayer. And your life, a sermon made of steel and silence. If you've made it this far, you're clearly a seeker of deep tales and ancient truths. So let me ask you, if the gods were watching you, what would they see? Comment your answer below. And while you're at it, give this video a like if you're enjoying the journey. Don't forget to subscribe, because the saga isn't over yet. Are you ready for Chapter 9? Enemies worthy of rage. Who you fought and why it mattered. Chapter 4. Training for rage. The Berserker Boot Camp. So, you want to become a Viking Berserker. That's cute. Do you enjoy screaming at trees until they tremble? Can you run barefoot across ice, wrestle a bear, and then compose poetry about the experience? If not, well, friend, welcome to Berserker Boot Camp, where the only rule is, there are no soft beds, no warm soups, and definitely no whining. Let's begin. You wake up before the sun, because the sun doesn't tell berserkers when to rise. You do. The cold punches you in the gut the moment you emerge from your animal skin bedroll. You're sleeping in a half-open structure, part shed, part frostbitten nightmare. No doors, no fire, just wind and your own will to stay alive. Today's first task? Breathing. No, really, this isn't yoga, but you start every day with deep, controlled breathing. The kind of breathing that fills your chest like a war horn. It's part ritual, part training. Some say it's from the old ways, brought down by Odin himself. You breathe in the cold until your chest burns, then breathe out until you feel lightheaded. This is how you start learning to enter the other state, the mind space between man and monster, the trance before rage. Lesson 1. Cold doesn't exist. Your trainer is a grizzled man with eyes like chipped stone. He says his name is Snorri, but you don't ask for a last name because Snorri once punched a tree and the tree apologized. Snorri walks barefoot, always, through snow, through gravel, even across fire pits. Feel the world beneath you, he growls. If you fear it, it owns you. You jog after him, uphill, shirtless. The forest looks beautiful, but you learn quickly that its beauty is indifferent to your suffering. Your feet hurt. Your lungs feel like burning coals. You step on sharp pine cones and bite your lip not to scream. Snorri turns to you. Pain is your tutor. Make it your friend. You keep jogging. Lesson 2. Rage isn't random. Here's a surprise. Berserkers don't just snap. It's not like someone spills your mead and suddenly you're headbutting goats. Berserkers train for rage. Snorri takes you to a clearing. He stands before you with a stick. Not a big one, just a little birch twig. Strike me, he says. You lunge. You miss. The stick smacks your ear. Again, and again, and again. Hours pass. The sun rolls across the sky like a slow drumbeat. Every time you swing, you get thwacked. Snorri's movements are fast, but calm, measured. Rage, he says between strikes, isn't flailing. It's precision, powered by fire. You start to understand. The Berserker trance isn't wild chaos. It's directed fury, like a dam bursting in the exact direction you choose. That night, your muscles scream. Your back spasms. You eat a lump of dried fish, curl up beside the ashes of a fire you had to make with 2 rocks and no instructions, and fall asleep to the sound of distant wolves. Lesson 3. Blood and brotherhood. You wake up covered in frost. You're not alone anymore. 5 new trainees have arrived. You eye each other like wary wolves. Snorri makes you fight. No weapons, just fists. And rules. No eye gouging. No death blows. The others are strong. One is a blacksmith's son with hands like anvils. Another is a woman who used to hunt elk with her bare hands. You get tossed, bruised, bloodied, and finally, after a headbutt that rattles your ancestors, you pin someone. Snorri nods. Good. You fought with rage. But you stayed in control. You're starting to get it. That night, you share a meal. Pickled onions. Dried meat. Fermented sheep milk that tastes like regret. But around the fire, your bruises feel like medals. You laugh together. The girl with elk hunting arms tells a story about strangling a goat that stole her bread. You all erupt in wheezy, blood-crusted laughter. This isn't just training your body. It's building your pack, your war band, your shield circle. When the trance hits, and your mind fogs with fury, it's them who'll keep you alive. Lesson 4. Scream Therapy, Viking Edition. Somewhere in the third week, Snorri takes you to a cliff. Below is the fjord, dark, deep, and cold enough to freeze your thoughts. Time to scream, he says. What? Scream. From the gut. Let it out. You hesitate. Then you scream. A loud, awkward, teenager on a roller coaster kind of scream. Snorri frowns. No. From here. He slams a fist to his own chest. You try again. This time, something comes loose. A sound you didn't know you could make tears from your throat. It echoes across the water. It feels right. Better, he nods. That's your voice. Use it before battle. Use it to wake the gods. You keep screaming. The whole group joins in. A chorus of rage, loss, joy, pain, pride, all rolled into one guttural roar. You feel cleansed. Final lesson. The trance. Your last test is simple. Enter the state. Snorri gives you a small piece of that infamous mushroom. Just enough. You breathe. You meditate. You chant. The world begins to shimmer. Colors pulse. Time distorts. Your hands feel like foreign tools, and your heart races like it's trying to escape your ribs. Then you find the line. The narrow thread between sanity and savagery. You walk it. You grip it. And for one moment, you are the bear. You are fire. You are storm. And then it passes. You collapse. Not from exhaustion, but from transformation. Snorri places a hand on your shoulder. You've met yourself. The real self. The beast. The berserker. Congratulations. Boot camp is over. But the journey, oh friend, it's just beginning. Chapter 9. The Edge of Sanity, when rage goes too far. From the blur of war cries to the silence of aftermath. Every berserker walks a tightrope between glory and madness. Imagine standing in the quiet after a raid. You can still taste blood on your teeth. Your heart thunders, even though the village lies still. Your brothers cheer, divide loot, roast meat. But you're still seeing red. This is the edge. Being a berserker wasn't all glory and howling triumph. It came with a price. Sometimes that price was sanity. Sometimes it was your own people. Sometimes, in the grip of fury, you didn't see friend or foe, only threats to be crushed. The fire that made you strong could easily burn you from the inside out. What happened when the rage didn't end? Not all warriors could come down from the trance. Some berserkers kept fighting, long after the danger had passed. They would lash out at livestock, trees, even children who came too close. They weren't bad men. They were men lost in a storm. Norse sagas tell of berserkers who were so dangerous after battle, they had to be restrained by their own kin, tied up, locked in huts until the madness passed. Imagine waking up days later, bruised and exhausted, asking, "What did I do?" No one answers. They just avoid your eyes. The curse of Odin's gift. In Viking lore, This uncontrollable rage was believed to be a divine blessing, a gift from Odin. But like most gifts from the gods, it had strings. Odin wasn't just the Allfather. He was also the god of madness, frenzy, and death. His warriors weren't always stable. They didn't need to be. To channel Odin was to invite something wild inside. You danced on the edge of a blade, and sometimes you fell. Even today, psychologists look back at berserkers and wonder, was this early PTSD, dissociation, hallucinogenic psychosis from those famous mushrooms? Maybe it was all of that, wrapped in myth and sharpened into legend. Collateral damage. There are tales of berserkers killing their own comrades in the frenzy. A slight shove mistaken for betrayal. A loud noise misheard as a threat. One moment of confusion could mean a sword through the gut of a lifelong friend. The survivors didn't always celebrate after battle. Sometimes they grieved. And when berserkers killed too many of their own or disobeyed a chieftain, the punishment could be exile, or worse. Imagine being banished not because you were weak, but because you were too strong, too wild, too much fire and not enough flesh. Aftermath and atonement. Those who lived long enough to retire from the warrior's path didn't always find peace. Some became hermits. Others took vows of silence or sought redemption through service to the gods. A few went mad entirely, haunted by visions, nightmares, and the ghosts of the men they'd struck down by mistake. And some simply vanished. In Norse poetry, berserkers are often tragic. Heroes, yes, but also broken. Instruments of fate, not always in control of their own strings. Their rages carved them into legends, but sometimes they wished to be forgotten. The human behind the howl. We tend to think of berserkers as beasts, bare-chested, bloodied, and unthinking. But that's not the whole truth. They were human, proud sons, lovers, fathers. They wept after battle. They grieved. They feared what they could become. In fact, the bravest berserkers weren't just those who charged into battle. They were the ones who learned to return from it. Some managed to build lives. They raised families, hunted in peace, told stories by the hearth. They taught younger warriors not just how to fight, but how to come down, how to breathe, how to survive themselves. Because rage is a powerful weapon, but left unchecked, it turns inward. Would you survive the madness? So ask yourself, if you were a berserker, could you come back from the brink? Could you fight the war on the outside and win the one within? Or would the fire take you? That, more than any axe or shield, was the real test. Chapter 5. The first raid. Blood, fire, and breakfast. Picture this. A heavy sky hangs low, the color of hammered pewter, brooding just above the choppy northern sea. You wake up to the sound of quiet murmurs, gravelly voices, the rustle of fur cloaks, the clink of metal buckles being fastened by calloused hands. The air is sharp with salt and early frost, slipping into your lungs like a cold blade, waking every part of you that might still long for comfort. But there is no comfort this morning. Today, you raid for the first time. Now, raiding may sound glamorous in hindsight. Songs, stories, the kind of tales carved onto rune stones by future generations. But right now, it smells of wet wool, old fish, and the sour tang of nerves barely hidden behind bravado. You sit beside the fire, legs tucked under you, chewing slowly on a piece of dried fish, so leathery it might as well be a strip of old boot. Across from you, another berserker gnaws through his breakfast like he's mad at it. Another man sits silently, hands clasped, whispering to the gods. You don't ask which gods. Everyone has their own. Some are louder than others. The fire cracks softly, casting long shadows over the damp earth floor. You feel the vibration of it more than the heat. Your heart thuds in time with the sparks. You're not afraid, not exactly. It's something stranger, a calmness that trembles beneath the surface, like still water hiding a storm just beneath. And just as your tongue finally works its way through the last of your fish, a voice cuts the quiet. Time. The word is simple, heavy, final, spoken by the Jarl himself. He doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. His voice rumbles low, deeper than the morning mist that curls at your boots. He walks between you all with measured steps, his cloak sweeping behind like smoke. He doesn't carry a map. He doesn't explain the plan. He simply lifts one thick, scarred hand and points toward the sea. That's it. That's your cue. You rise. Slowly. You stretch your arms out wide, not to yawn, but to feel the weight of your own body, the strength of your limbs, the warmth of your muscles waking. You were trained for this. Every roar, every night spent trembling in trance, every root chewed and bruise earned, it's led to this. You pull on your cloak. You grab your axe. You walk. The longship awaits. The boat is already in the water, its long curved hull bobbing softly at the dock. It looks alive in the grey morning, with its carved dragon head looming from the prow. Eyes wide, mouth open, as if it too is hungry. You climb aboard, shoulder to shoulder with your shield brothers. No armor, no helmet, just your tunic, your strength, your wildness, and your faith in the madness that fills you when the battle horn blows. Someone mutters a quiet prayer beside you. Another man laughs too loudly, clearly trying to drown his fear. First time, he says. You nod. He grins, crooked teeth and all. You'll love it, or hate it. Either way, it changes you. The oars dip into the water, and the longship glides away from shore like a shadow slipping from under a door. You feel the rhythm settle in your bones, the push and pull, the creak of wood, the distant cries of gulls circling overhead. You pass small islands, rocky shores, and pale trees waving like skeletal hands in the wind, and slowly the sky begins to shift, from grey to gold. Dawn breaks in slivers. That's when the drums start. Just one at first, a dull thump from the center of the ship, a hollow rhythm that echoes your heartbeat. Then another, not loud, not fast, just steady, the kind of beat that pulls you under, like a lullaby for warriors. When you spot land again, it's different. It's not your land. This place is smaller, softer, shaped by people who till soil instead of spilling blood. You see a low fence, a barn, a trail of smoke rising from a humble roof, a coastal village, unprepared, unaware. No war horns, no watchtowers, no army, just fishers, farmers, families. You feel it then, that twitch in your stomach. Not fear, not quite guilt, but a strange stirring, and then it's gone, swallowed by the sound of the Jarl's horn. It blares like a beast awakening. Everyone moves at once. You leap from the ship into shallow water. It's cold enough to burn, but you don't notice. You're already running. Your feet pound the wet sand, your axe swings at your side, and the war cry rises up in your throat like a volcano that's waited too long to erupt. You scream, and the world screams with you. The first building comes fast, a storehouse of some kind. You don't stop to inspect. The man beside you simply slams into the door with his shoulder, and it cracks open like dry bark. Inside, sacks of grain tumble to the floor. No resistance. Not yet. Then you hear it, a shriek. Human. From somewhere behind a cottage. You turn, just in time to see a figure dash through the trees. You chase. The wind howls past your ears. Your boots slap against the forest floor. Branches claw at your face. And all the while, your mind narrows. Not to thoughts. Not even to rage. Just to instinct. To the thrill. And then you stop. You don't even remember doing it. But your axe is raised. Your breath is wild. And you're standing over someone kneeling. It's a boy. Not more than 12. Eyes wide. Frozen. Unarmed. He stares up at you. Not blinking. You freeze too. For just a moment. And in that moment, you understand something you never learned in training. Raiding isn't just about taking. It's about choosing. Because now you must choose who you are. You lower the axe. You turn. You walk back to the village. Behind you, the boy runs. Ahead, you see smoke. Bright flames licking the edges of a barn roof. Someone's goat bleats loudly and sprints between two berserkers laughing like drunk gods. One man tosses silver into a sack. Another stirs a pot over an open fire, chuckling. Yes, mid-raid, someone is cooking. Found stew, he shouts. You can't help it. You laugh. It's surreal. You're standing in a half-burned village, your hands still trembling from a near kill, and there's stew, and laughter, and a strange, buzzing quiet in the back of your skull that says, "This is life now. A berserker's life." Eventually, the horn sounds again, this time a different rhythm, a retreat. No one is chasing you. There's no need. The raid is done. What could be taken was taken. What needed burning was burned. The boat groans as you climb back aboard. The deck is heavier now, with silver, livestock, and stories. You sit, still shaking, but smiling in a strange, half-dazed way. The Jarl passes by and nods once, slowly. "Good," he says. "You didn't get yourself killed. That's better than most." Someone hands you a bowl. Yes, it's stew. Still warm. Still delicious. Or maybe you're just starving. Either way, you eat. And as the longship sails home beneath a sky no longer grey, but stained with the fire of morning, you lean back against the wood and feel it. Not pride, not victory, but transformation. You are not who you were before the raid, and you never will be again. Chapter 10. Your last battle, and the songs they'll sing. When the blood dries and the horns fall silent, only the echoes remain. This is the tale they'll tell. The wind has a different sound when you know it may be your last time hearing it. Cold and hollow. You stand at the edge of the field, your brothers beside you, the sky painted with grey clouds and dark birds circling. Steel sings from every hand, breath clouds in the air. This is it. One more battle, maybe your last. And strange as it may seem, there is peace in that. A berserker's death was not feared, it was chased. You didn't hope to die. But if you did, let it be like this. Roaring, blazing, soaked in sweat and glory, your name echoing off the shield walls. Anything less would be a quiet betrayal of the life you chose. The weight of legacy. You weren't just fighting for land or loot. You were fighting for the saga. For the skald who would sit by the hearth next winter and whisper your name into the ears of children too young to lift a sword. For the rune carved into a stone long after your bones were dust. The Norse believed that death in battle was not the end. It was a gate. If you fell with a weapon in hand, the Valkyries would carry you. Not gently, no, like wind through a storm. They'd lift you into the clouds, your wounds still fresh, your fury still pulsing. And where would you go? To Valhalla, the hall of the slain. There, in the great hall of Odin, you'd fight again every day. A golden field, endless, where the bravest clashed until dusk. Then, wounds healed by the gods, you'd feast. Boar's meat. Endless mead. Laughter so loud it shook the stars. No pain. No sorrow. No regret. Just battle and song. But to get there, you had to earn it. You had to die with a roar, not a whisper. You had to strike until your last breath. Show the gods that your soul burned as fiercely as your blade. How songs are made. The skalds didn't write sagas about those who hesitated. They sang of men who laughed in the face of death, who, when cut down, still crawled forward, still bit and clawed and cursed the enemy's name. Your story would be told in verse. He fell with blood upon his lips, his blade deep in the war chief's chest. No cry for mercy on his tongue, just fire till his final rest. That's the legacy, not the riches you earned, not the scars you carried, but the moment you refused to die quietly. Even death fears fire. Some say a berserker never really dies, that when the night wind howls and the trees creak like old bones, it is their fury that moves through the dark, that the dead who lived with such rage cannot rest, and do not wish to. Perhaps that's why old shields were sometimes buried with wolves' teeth or bear claws, so the soul could return as something wild, not a ghost, but a force. A warning. And maybe that's all a man ever wants. To matter. To burn bright enough that even the shadows remember him. The quiet after. But even the fiercest warrior eventually falls still. Your fingers will go slack around your axe. Your chest will rise once, then no more. Around you, the field will fall silent. Crows will gather, the sky will grow pale, and yet that will not be the end. Someone will find your body, lift it gently, speak your name, perhaps weep, perhaps whisper a prayer. Your brothers will sing your death song, and one night by firelight a child will ask, "Tell me about the berserker who didn't fear death." And the skald will smile. They will begin. There once was a warrior, fierce as flame. His rage shook the hills. His voice echoed through the trees. And when the gods called him home, he smiled and ran to meet them. And so your saga ends, not with silence, but with song, not forgotten, but eternal. You lived, you fought, you burned, and now you rest.